So before we get into the video, I completely forgot to mention my intro. This is 7 days of top 10, or actually like 8 or 9 days, but that's not the point. I will be uploading a top 10 video or a top anything video up until January 1st or 2nd, depending on how things go, just so I could get all of my thoughts out for the year, because it has been a really good year in terms of media and entertainment. Enjoy the video. All right, it's the end of the year. As usual. And as it being the end of the year, I have to make my end of the year video for a lot of things. I have to make my end of the year video for a lot of things. So I might as well just start now with some of the games. Now there's two parts of this video. There's the games that came out this year and the games that I played this year. So like the games that came out this year, games that came out this year that I got the chance to play and I really enjoyed. And the games that the rest of it is the games that I played this year that are older, and I kind of missed in years past, but I had to shout them out in some way, shape, or form. So that's what this is. That's what that list is. That list isn't going to be until like last day in December, first day in January, because I have a strong feeling that there's one game on that list that's going to make it that I have not actually played yet, but I have a strong feeling it's actually going to make that list, regardless if I've completed it by that point or not. So let's start with the honorable mentions for this list. I think the first couple of honorable mentions are games that I actually have not played, and this is because these are games that I haven't played yet. These being Plague Tale Requiem, Stray, and God of War Ragnarok. Now let's start with Requiem and Stray. I actually have I have a PS5 that I just bought recently, and I'm going to eventually get around to buying Stray. I'm gonna get around to buying Stray and playing that game. They probably like some point like January or February. Same thing with God of War Ragnarok. I'm gonna play that. I played God of War 2018. It's a phenomenal game, but I'm gonna get to Ragnarok probably some point in January when I get around to buying it and playing it on the channel, on the second channel. Haha, wink wink. Plague Tale Requiem is a separate case because I wanted to play Innocence. I really did. I had it installed, and then they took it off of Game Pass. I was very upset. So I'm going to have to go out, either watch it or buy Innocence before I play Requiem back, because I really do want to play it. I really do. Some other honorable mentions being like games that I haven't completed, or haven't gotten too far into, or games that just kind of didn't meet the criteria or weren't as good as the top 10. Metal Hellsinger and High on Life, both phenomenal games in their own right, but I haven't gotten too far into them as of yet. Metal Hellsinger is a lot of fun, and High on Life, it seems like it's a lot of fun at the moment. Multiverses is doing really well on my second channel, but the thing about it is, for me, it just doesn't meet like the same highs as the top 10. It's another kind of Halo Infinite situation where they kind of need to update the game more in order for it to be top 10 for me. And lastly, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Honestly, this game would have made the list, but it just compared to the other games, it's not as good. I didn't enjoy it as much. It'd be like number 11. Now, before we get to the top 10, these are ordered, and they are. My criteria for this is how good of a game it is and how much I enjoyed it. Like, is it a good game and did I enjoy it? So there could be like a bad game, like an objectively bad game that I played, but I really enjoyed it, so that would probably make the list. Luckily, there aren't too many of those, I don't think. But just keep that in mind. I prioritize my enjoyment over how good the game is. Number 10 is As Dusk Falls. And so the thing about As Dusk Falls is I feel like that game did a lot of things right. I played Life is Strange True Colors earlier this year, and I loved it. Played Tell Me Why earlier, loved it. But when you get to As Dusk Falls, I feel like As Dusk Falls tries to go for a lot of those things, but worse. Don't get me wrong, As Dusk Falls is still a amazing game in its own right, but I feel like there are certain points in that story where it is just kind of a couple of dead spots, right? There are dead spots. There's like 2 chapters in particular where I'm just like, I'm bored, there's nothing going on, and I don't like this. Like, I want to be, especially in these type of games, like if it's going to be a slow burner, it has to be a slow emotional burner or a mystery, right? As Dusk Falls tries to hold its pace is like it's moving kind of fast, and then you get to the certain points of the story and it just abruptly stops and it just throws everything off, right? I think the story is really good at how they split it up into separate parts. One further in the past, one further in the future, dealing with the PTSD, you could say, and events that happen in the past is just that's all great. I really enjoyed that part. Once again, there's certain points that just disrupted the pace, and I was like, not sure about this, but it's fine. Next up, number 9 would be Eiyuden Chronicle Rising. Now, I'll be real. When I was making this game, when I was making this list, I completely forgot this game existed. I did. But that being said, it's really, really good. The spiritual successor, or at least the second game is, which comes out next year, to Suikoden, which is cool. But Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, I feel like at first the gameplay kind of didn't hook me, and the story was kind of at first. But as you go on, I feel like the story isn't absolutely amazing. It's not. However, it's still fun. The gameplay is a lot of fun once you start unlocking more abilities, and the side quests are a lot of fun as well. Like they aren't like elaborate like Xenoblade level kind of side quest, or Yakuza level side quest, but they're good side quests. I really enjoy doing them. It's a good like 10-15 hour experience that I think anybody would enjoy. Next up, Splatoon 3, number 8. Once again, I feel like the only reason why I got this game at first was like 50% of it was like my own curiosity, because I was like, another Splatoon game. Some of the gameplay looks really good. The other 50% is because one of my friends just would not shut up about it. But I feel like Splatoon 3, playing it more, it evolves the formula of Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 1, and it just makes it way more fun. Like, I have been having way more fun with this game than I am Splatoon 2. Splatoon 1, maybe not, but Splatoon 2 for sure. I didn't log that many hours into Splatoon 2, and it's because I wasn't enjoying it as much as, say, a lot of other people was. But Splatoon 3, I've been having a lot of fun with it. I think that's what matters. Once again, another multiverse situation. I really appreciate it. They like do regular updates, more regular like adding stuff in, but it's fine. It's doing, when it comes to its updates, it's doing better than those, so that's why it's kind of high on this list. But overall, just a lot of fun. Next up, number 7. This is kind of one of those examples that I was talking about earlier. Pokemon Violet. Now, the reason why this game makes the list is because despite the technical issues, now I got this on digital, so I didn't get that many technical bugs and issues and stuff like that. It wasn't that bad for me. But besides the bugs and issues, going past all of that, that game is a lot of fun. I think it truly evolves Pokemon and is taking it into a step into the right direction, much like Pokemon Legends Arceus did for Pokemon as well. The open world, I think, while the scaling is very weird how they do the scaling, because the open world doesn't scale with you. So when they say you could go anywhere and anytime you want, that's not technically true. Because if you go, like, you can go anywhere, but if you go there, hypothetically, theoretically, you will get destroyed by higher level Pokemon. So the world doesn't technically scale with you. However, that being said, it was still a lot of fun. The 3 separate routes for Pokemon, I think it's just the best part of this game, because you get those 3 separate routes, you get 3 separate stories. Because one of the issues with Pokemon that I found in the past is them trying to tie in the story of you doing the gyms with like the legendary story and the story with like the enemy team and blah blah blah, and it does kind of fall apart at times. There's specific games I could call out, I'm just not, but it does kind of fall apart at times. But I feel like having them sticking those to their individual stories was great, especially like Starfall Street, whatever it was called. With the whole like Team Star and Cassiopeia, whatever the frack her name was, and like what happened at the end. I feel like all of that was very compelling. It was a very compelling storyline. I really enjoyed it. New Pokemon designs, but for the most part, this game is really fun and I really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend it. At number 6, we have Lost Ark. Now, I'll be real with you. This isn't a game I have played recently. The last time I played Lost Ark was March 25th, which is unfortunate, but I kind of just stopped playing it for a bit. Um, Lost Ark was really good. It is a really good MMO. I think I logged by the time I stopped playing it like 57 hours into it or something like that. Um, it was really good and I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was like there's like anything objectively wrong with it. There isn't. Yeah, the gameplay loop can be kind of repetitive at times, but if I'm talking about gameplay loops, I can't really say that because of one of the games on here, higher up. So I can't really say that specifically. But I feel like Lost Ark was just a lot of was another again another game was where it was like it was just a lot of fun. I just really enjoyed it for what it was and when it came out because I remember I was really excited for it because when Lost Ark first came out, I think I was excited for it a bit before, and then I had COVID when that game came out, and so I was stuck inside, and so I was like, yeah, let me play Lost Ark. And I had a ball with it. I really enjoyed it. Too bad I didn't end up playing longer than I actually did. I actually think the reason why I didn't play longer is because Final Fantasy VI came out, and I devoted all my time to that for good reason. But if I had played longer, I'm pretty sure this would have been like higher up on the list. Next up, number 5, finally halfway through the list, we have Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. I wasn't the biggest Lego Star Wars person growing up. I played like episodes 1, 2, and 3, and really enjoyed them. But I didn't play past that. Most of that's because I didn't end up seeing I played episode 1 and then didn't end up playing the rest until I saw like episode 2 and 3, and then I went and watched the rest. I was like, what's the point in playing this Lego game? Haha. But Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, I feel like truly involves the Lego combat and Lego storytelling into like just a completely new level. Like the combat in this game rivals a lot of like traditional Star Wars games. It does, not like Jedi Fallen Order, not that traditional, but a decent amount of traditional Star Wars games, like Star Wars Battlefront and stuff like that. Those games that come out now, this probably has the best combat out of most of them. Once again, not Jedi Fallen Order, but it just does a lot of things right. The graphics for a Lego game are just out of this world, and the music's great, of course. And I had a blast with it overall. Number 4, this is the game that should probably be number 1. And this is kind of an exception to my honorable mentions rule where I did not finish this game, but I got ridiculously far in this game and once again put it down because of another game. This game is Elden Ring. Now, before Elden Ring was not a massive Souls person. Like I've watched Let's Plays of like some of the Souls games. I've watched Sekiro Let's Play. I've watched a Bloodborne Let's Play. I think they all look good. Elden Ring was my first introduction to the franchise as like, me playing it. And I think the thing about Elden Ring, the thing about most open world games in general, is that it's very overwhelming. Like the idea of like you can go anywhere you want, whenever you want, is very overwhelming to me. Like Pokemon Violet, I feel like does that in a way where it's like it's comfortable because it's Pokemon and I'm used to it. But Elden Ring specifically, and like Breath of the Wild as well, is one of the reasons why I really couldn't get into Breath of the Wild, was because the world is so huge and it kind of overwhelms me because I can do whatever I want. And what I personally love a story, like a streamlined linear experience most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time. And so I get a game like Elden Ring where I could do what I want. I'm just like, I'm not sure what to do. I'm lost. It's like, yeah, I go explore and all that. But for me, it's not my type of game. It's not my type of vibe. Not saying that it's a bad game, because I really did have a lot of fun with it. The bosses that I did do were very challenging, and once I did eventually beat them, I was like, this is great. I felt a sense of accomplishment, a sense of triumph. But for me, it was just like the massive open worlds where I could do what I want, and with like no guide or stuff like that. That's not really how I like to play my games, me personally. Now, we have the top 3. These 3, at least number 2 and 3, I heavily debated on where I should put them because I really enjoyed both of them. Thoroughly enjoyed both of them. Number 1 is a no-brainer for me, but 2 and 3, I kind of had to flip back and forth. Number 3, speaking of open worlds, talking about open worlds, Sonic Frontiers. Now, I will go on the record to say the last good 3D Sonic game was Sonic Generations. I'll go on the record to say that Lost World was trash. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric was trash. Sonic Forces was trash. But I still love Sonic. I love the originals. I love some of the earlier 3D ones, like at least the ones that I've played. Sonic Colors is still my favorite Sonic game, even besides Frontiers. It's still my favorite Sonic game. But Frontiers, I feel like, once again, with the whole Pokemon thing, moves the Sonic franchise into the right direction. And open world, ignore my dog, I don't know what it is about open world Sonic that just, it kind of just fits him. It fits him like a glove. It just works. And I can't for the love of God tell you why. Maybe it's because he's moving so fast. And once again, I wouldn't say this is like truly open world. It's like open zone type of game, like Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's just like an open zone kind of thing. They give you a compass, they give you a story thing. It's like it's not truly open world, but like I said with Elden Ring, I could deal with that. But the story of Sonic Frontiers, just having it focus on a specific group of characters and not like a ton of characters like Sonic Forces did, as well as having but those specific group of characters, that story actually being good, focusing those characters on like Sonic Boom was really good. Of course, the music is phenomenal. Got snubbed at the Game Awards, but the music is phenomenal. I think the boss fights in Sonic Frontiers were quite possibly the best boss fights I've experienced this year. Like the Giganto boss fight and the Wyvern boss fight was sick. And of course, the Night boss fight, the final boss fight between with the Supreme and the end. But like those first 3 boss fights were just so out of this world amazing that I had those songs on a playlist. Like they're so good. All right, so at number 2 is the newest game on this list, probably, and the game, once again, that I have completed most recently, that is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. This game was so good. Now, I've heard some mixed opinions about the original Crisis Core, that, the story in the first half is kind of meh, and the second half is really good. The combat was bad, and that it felt like a Final Fantasy Kingdom Hearts game. And I felt that I heard that it desperately needed a remaster. It was a PSP game, I think it was a PSP game that came out like 15 years ago at this point. And Reunion came out. I was very excited because I never played the original. I knew the story of the original because I'm a Final Fantasy VII fan, but I never played the original. And the game came out and it was phenomenal. Like, yeah, I could definitely see at times where it's like Kingdom Hearts-ish writing, for sure, because it definitely does feel like a Kingdom Hearts game. At times, it feels like a Nomura game. But the combat was great. Story, for the most part, was really good. I enjoyed the characters. I didn't have as much nostalgia when it came to the voice actors. And yeah, I think there's definitely some like delivery on Zack that could have been better. But for the most part, I am completely okay with all the voice acting in it. Graphics were great. I think just overall, the way, because I've gone back and seen the battle system from back then and I've seen it now, and the overhaul is just so good that this just isn't a remaster. This is a remake at the end of the day. It is a remake of Crisis Core, and it is really good. The music is really good. The story is great. Just seeing all these characters that, or at least most of them that from the original FF7 and FF7 remake in this game, and how they came to be, was just so good as a fan, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Last but not least, our number one game of the year, my personal game of the year, and it's kind of a no-brainer, because I've talked about it so many times. I'm a massive simp, a massive stan for this game. It's none other than Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This game is just amazing. I think there are definitely elements of that entire game that I don't like. Let's start with the stuff that I'm not a massive fan of. The more I think about it, Origin and that entire last dungeon was cool, very purple. It was cool, but it wasn't like amazing. It wasn't that good. Like, it gives me like Ether Mines is what it was called in Xenoblade One. That vibes. That was a horrible final dungeon. It wasn't as bad as that, but it wasn't great. It wasn't. And the final boss battle was actually pretty cool. But I think the thing about it is that the villains in Xenoblade 3 aren't great. They're just meant as like a motive or a drive or character drive for the main characters, which is usually how villains are supposed to work. But like the main villain didn't have anything about him that was like standout ish. It was more like N and M kind of steal the show when it comes to villains in Xenoblade 3. But other than that, I think the combat in this game is the best combat Xenoblade has ever had. Like, I'm not a massive fan of 2's combat. I actually like 1's combat. I think 1's combat is better than 2's, me personally. I wasn't a massive fan of 2's combat. Like, once you get used to it in 2, it's definitely better than it was to start. But even once you get used to it, once you kind of get all the systems and all that, I feel like I still wasn't the hugest fan. And so combat in this game is just mastered. It's perfect. It's the best combat Xenoblade has ever had. The story was great for the most part. The story was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It's the only game in this world that has ever made me cry like a baby. It was very emotional. The characters I really enjoyed. I don't think there was like a single main character that I disliked or main protagonist, like a good guy that I disliked. You know, there are definitely some characters in this entire game that I disliked. Oh, Shania. But I think just overall this game was amazing. And being a Xenoblade fan and seeing all that fan service was, for me, was just launched this game to best I've played this year. One of my favorites of all time. Is easily the best Xenoblade game. Hope you enjoyed this top 10. This very long top 10. It's probably going to end up being like 25 to 30 minutes. But that's just my thoughts on every game. Like I said, there are definitely games I did not get to this year. I probably will get to this year. Like I said, God of War, Stray, Plague Tale is something I even didn't mention, like Live Alive for sure. I'm gonna get to next year, Bayonetta 3, stuff like that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this top 10. More to come, as you know, I dubbed it 7 days of top 10s, you could say, or something like that. I'll figure it out in the editing process. Yeah, I'll see you next time.